Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the FXP weekly analysis. For those who are new, basically what we go through in this video is to scan through the market and to share with you certain methods and potential in terms of the setup for the upcoming week itself. Alright, and for those who have been following us, really thank you. Your support and encouragement really help us to reach where we are today. Alright, for those who are new, right, if you find this video really helpful and meaningful and give you certain insights, right, do subscribe to our channel and share this video with your friends and family. Right, so without further ado, I would like to jump into this week focus. This week focus, we would like to go through more on the pound, Great Britain pound for this video, right? And if you look at next week calendar, we do have certain key data releases. All right, for Tuesday itself, you see BOE is giving a speech. All right, and if you zoom in into Wednesday, we have a current account data release, and further down the week, what we have is a manufacturing PMI releases as well. Right, so in this video, I will be mainly focusing on the pound. Alright, but what you want to take note is also on other currencies. For example, next Friday is the non-farm payroll release as well. Alright, but with time constraint, we can't really go through everything. So in this video, we mainly focus on the pound market. Alright, so let's jump into the chart. Alright, the first pair that I want to go through with you is the pound dollar itself. Right, so if I zoom out to the daily chart, what you can see is market currently is in consolidation, right? But last week itself, there's a huge drop. All right, so if you look into the H4 time frame, all right, over this area, what you see is that the previous support level has been broken. All right, and what we are looking for is a retest of this level to scout for potential entry. Alright, potential setup, and what we like to use over here a lot is the Fibonacci retracement. Alright, so if you pull from the recent high to the recent low, what we are looking at is also a confluence of the 382%. Alright, over here. So this Fibonacci retracement level confluence with our previous structure. So what we'll be looking at over here is that for price to come back up, alright, towards this level, and that's where we'll be looking for a shorting opportunity, right? And expect that price will bounce and go further lower. Right, so for those who have been following for us some time, what we do is we like to set our short setup over here. Right, our stops will go slightly above the 618, and our first target will be the recent low. Alright, so this gives us, we emphasize a lot on risk to reward ratio as well. So this gives us a risk to reward of 1.29. So this is how we set for first target, right? But if for those who are trend continuation and would like to aim for the second target, what we usually do is we pull our Fibonacci, all right, from here to here, right, from the low to the recent high, and what we are aiming for is the 127 extension, right? That's for our second target. So if you look at this, it's over here, all right, with our stops just slightly above the 618. Right, which is the same level. So if you look at the second target gives you a risk to reward of 2.28. Right, pretty decent. Right, so this is something that we are looking out for in the pound dollar market for next week itself. Right, the next pair that I would like to go through is the pound Canadian. Alright, let me clear my previous analysis. Alright, the pound Canadian market. Alright, in this one, right, what we want to do is, okay, let's look at the overall trend. Right, the overall trend previously was down, and then market is currently in a consolidation. All right, so what we're looking for is on the 1 hour time frame, right, and we are looking for is a setup of a potential harmonic pattern. All right, so if we measure our Fibonacci from the recent low to the recent high before the market break the previous low, we see a retracement from here hitting the 786 level. So this gives us a potential bad pattern, right? And the bad pattern usually completes about the 127. That means your D point completion, the potential reversal zone is around the 127 level, right? So let me draw in the pattern so it's clearer for you. Right, so this is a potential butterfly pattern that we are looking at, right? And if you drop a horizontal line at the completion level, and we zoom out a higher time frame, alright, to look for potential confluence level, we do have some minor support in the past as well. Right, but what I want to show you is that this might not be considered a very strong trade, mainly if you take into account the trend. Alright, because what we see over here is that there's no significant pattern or clues, right, to tell us that the price is on an uptrend, right? So it is pretty uncertain in terms of the trend direction. Right, but if you are those that just looking to trade the patterns, alright, this is a very good setup as well. Why? I'd like to show you the risk to reward ratio. Alright, so what we'll be doing is that if price comes down to this level at the 2.0135 level around this area, what we'll be looking at is a long, right, with our stops just slightly above the 141. And for target for harmonic pattern, what we do is we pull Fibonacci, right, from our extreme point to the point where we enter, and the first target simply aims at the 382. So what you want to see is that, the risk to reward ratio for the first target is simply at 2.3 already. Alright, so this gives us a very good risk to reward ratio, right? A very good ratio in terms of taking the risk. Alright, simply risking this amount, you can get 2 times more in terms of reward. Right, and this is simply for first target, and for those who are aiming for second target. Alright, so let me show you the second target risk to reward. So second target for harmonic pattern will always aim for the 618 retracement. Right, and if you look at the risk to reward ratio, the second target gives you a risk to reward of 3.8, fairly decent. Right, so this is a key thing of why I will be monitoring this market myself. Alright, for this pound Canadian. Right, should price come back down towards this level, that's where I'll be looking for a long setup. Right, the last pair that I want to go through in this video is the pound Aussie. Alright, so let's go through what's happening on the upper time frame as well. So you can see that pound Aussie is pretty much still in an uptrend, but in the previous few weeks, alright, what it's been doing is bouncing up and down. Basically, it's in the range bound market. Right, but the overall sentiment is still towards the upside, right? Mainly because the fundamental of the England market, alright, the Great Britain market is still not very weak, alright, but the Australian market itself, the economy there is still pretty weak, alright. So this gives to the overall upside of this currency pair if you are looking at this. Alright, but what I want you to focus on is we also have a potential harmonic pattern setting up, right, giving us the setup in direction with the overall sentiment and trend. Alright, so what we like to do is I want to bring you to the focus of a market swing. Alright, so this will give you a slight idea of how this pattern is set up as well. Alright, so just to quickly share with you, this pattern itself is called the cipher pattern. Alright, so the cipher pattern normally have a swing of upward swing, alright, a slight retracement. Alright, and what we want is that the second swing, alright, the second swing have to break a previous one, and the retracement has to come down, breaking your previous low. So this gives us a cipher pattern, alright, and some of the rules of criteria of cipher pattern, alright, since we are here, let me just share with you more on this pattern, how we identify and trade this. The first rule of the cipher pattern is that the first retracement has to hit at least a minimum of 382. Alright, but it cannot exceed your 618. So what you see over here from this swing to this swing, alright, the retracement comes back at 382 but never breached your 618. So this is a valid retracement point. Alright, and for the second criteria that we are looking for is an extension from here. Alright, so let me pull in the 2. So the extension from here to here is that this point has to hit at least a minimum of 127 extension and cannot exceed the 141. Alright, so if you are into more in-depth of how to identify all this pattern, we have a free webinar really simply on how to trade harmonic pattern. Alright, I'll drop you the link below in this video as well. Alright, so if you are free and you're really interested to learn on that, do take a look on that video itself. Right, so this gives us a valid extension of C point. Right, so with all this, what we simply need is to find the completion pattern. Alright, the completion point of the cipher pattern is at the 786 retracement. So this is how the pattern will look like. Alright, so this is a potential cipher pattern setting up, and for us, alright, how we trade the harmonic pattern is simply waiting for price, alright, to come down and hit the D point, and our entry will be here. Our stops will be slightly below our X, and the first target point, right, as usual, is always using the Fibonacci and pull in. First target will be at the 382. Alright, so for cipher pattern, what you're looking at in terms of risk to reward, it's not great, alright, but it's still decent because it gives us more than 1:1. Alright, and if you look for second target, what you're looking at is a risk to reward ratio of 2. Alright, not too bad as well, alright, but not as good as the butterfly pattern that we discussed on the previous pair on pound Canadian. Right, so that's it for this week video. Alright, in terms of these 3 currencies that I'd like to share with you, and what you can do is to keep an eye on this for next week as well. Right, but what I want to share with you is that for the first time, what we'll be doing, alright, will be to really have an online kind of live webinar trading and analyzing the market. And what we'll be doing when we'll be doing this is on the Monday. Alright, from 8 to 11, I would say 8 to 10 p.m. Alright, 8 to 10 p.m. the Singapore time, which is the GMT plus 8. Alright, which is also equivalent to the New York Open. Alright, what we'll be doing over there is alright, just to share with you, what we normally do is that I'll be sharing and conducting this session together with the community members. Alright, but what we'll be doing is we'll be opening up this session for this Monday. Alright, for you to join in as well. And how we'll be conducting this, alright, will be via Skype. Alright, so what we want to do is I will drop you the link. Alright, we have set up the group on Skype, so I'll drop you the link. Feel free to join that group on Skype, and we'll be having this webinar tomorrow. Alright, what we'll be going through is we'll be going through the market. Alright, some of my thought process, how I analyze the market, and then definitely we can check out and set in certain orders, alright, together as well. And I would like to also clarify on this, because most of the emphasis for the webinar will be given to our community members, alright, our clients itself. So I will still answer your Q&A, alright, but priorities will still be given to the community members. Alright, and moving forward, alright, I would like to get also feedback from you, and how we can then move forward and improve on all these sessions. Alright, so once again, thank you for watching this video, and if you really like it, alright, do subscribe to our channel and share this video together with people and friends whom alright, are also trading in the financial market, and hopefully this can give some insights to them as well. Alright, until then, I'll see you soon.